we ready? You ready? We're live.
Let's do it.
We're
Are we
live. Yeah, no, we're live.
We're in there?
Cameras are on.
Cameras are on?
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Beyond the Box, Valley Vision's Beyond the Box. This is our first ever show on site. We're at Don Juan's Cigar Bar on Corporate. Obviously, that LSU baseball game is still going on. We got too excited. We couldn't wait till after. So we're going to hang out while the game
It looks good,
finishes.
too. I'm seeing it live on the...
Oh, you're watching it?
Yeah, I'm watching it live. I got a lot of things going on over here. I got the LSU game on in the background. I got the YouTube right here. I got my cigar waiting for me over here.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about the cigar. I'm sweating a little bit. Y'all, this was a whirlwind. But I do want to shout out Mr. Jay Parker, who stepped up and is running production for us today. Thank you so much for being here and for helping us out. And exciting news, Coach Paul Mainieri is going to join us in about 5-10 minutes.
Yep.
But we figured we'd get started.
No,
before,
yeah, we needed to.
Right? Okay, so you said something about your cigar. You want to?
Yes.
You want to?
Well, we are in Don Juan's
right.
Cigar Bar,
Cigar
so
bar,
yeah,
sense.
they've done an incredible job hosting us. We wouldn't be able to do this stuff without their hospitality and everything. And I'm not a huge cigar smoker. I mean, every now and then, I mean, one of my best friends, Jason Hernandez, is a huge cigar smoker. And so he tries to always get me smoking cigars, so I'll do it every now and then. But the lovely people here at Don Juan's hooked me up with one. And as you can see, most people know Dylan Cruz, right? Dude was the Golden Spikes winner last year. We have a ball sign from him for anybody that's participating here at Don Juan's and in our YouTube chat. But the cigar that he's smoking in his iconic photo is the same brand that I have over here. So
can you
lift
lift
really
it
cool.
up and show the camera?
Yeah, I can. I could probably do that. I could probably do that.
You're gonna talk
I'm
about
gonna smoke it in a little while. Yeah. So.
In the chat, who do you think looks better smoking the cigar, Dylan Cruz or Anthony?
Come on, don't do that to me. I mean, Dylan Cruz looks better. He's
that
won a
was
national
so
championship.
Unfair.
Yeah, he's holding a trophy.
Unfair. I had to ask.
Really cool story. Somebody told me from Don Juan's, Bocock Brothers is a brand. One of the brothers of that group, I guess, and that brand went to LSU. So they're big in the cigar community. And I guess that's the brand. They're from Honduras. So I thought that was pretty cool when they told me that too. So yeah, I'm excited to light that thing up at some point.
We're learning about cigars. Makes sense.
I feel like Coach Mainieri is going to judge me if I'm smoking it. So
I was going to ask you, is he going to tell you something about smoking it?
I don't know. We're going to find out. He's like a second dad to me, so I'll find out what he thinks.
Look, don't say anything. Just light it in front of him and start puffing it.
While he's going, just be like, oh, excuse me, Coach. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah. You can walk past. Y'all, we're literally in Don Juan, so people are going to walk past the camera. You're fine.
That's part of the experience.
Okay, so Anthony mentioned that we do have a signed baseball by Dylan Cruz. I know. I was trying to do some build up there. So the deal with that is for those people that drove all the way over here and are hanging out with us at Don Juan's, we are going to put a raffle in for them into this giveaway. And then for those of you watching online, each entry is $1. So if you want 10 raffle tickets, you can send $10 to my Venmo, and we're going to pick a ticket at the end of the night, and the winner will get the Dylan Cruz signed baseball.
Yep. It's going right into Abby's pocket, too. She's not going to ever use it for anything for the show or anything like that at all. So she's just pocketing it.
Y'all know better than that. Y'all know better than that. I am going to put my Venmo in the chat, though, so that people know where to send the money. I don't know. There might be more Abby Alonzos out there. Also, my full name is Abigail with 2 B's. So make sure you're sending it to the right person. By
the way, this lighter, I'm really excited just to light my cigar just because this lighter looks so badass. Like, it's one of the torch lighters. You see that? I don't know if you can see that, chat.
I think they can see it.
But no, it's going to be, I'm excited about that.
Okay, you have the game, because the game is still going on right now.
Yeah. So,
can you give us an update on what's going on?
LSU's actually down right now, 2-1 in the bottom of the 8th.
Southeastern. Why does this? Okay, and I guess we'll wait for Mainieri to get here before I start asking questions. But why is that a thing? Like, this happens so often where
Southeastern?
Like LSU, no, not just Southeastern, but midweek games, like teams that you should roll over.
Okay, they're 9-4. Like, I mean, they have a good program. This isn't like, I mean, Southeastern is decent. I'm just trying to give them some credit. There might be some Southeastern people in there. You know how I feel, but I'm just I gotta be a little nice to them.
When you look at this
do
game,
I have to though?
No, you
okay,
don't.
You're
This
right.
is an LSU
They should win.
show.
They should win the game. They should win the game.
Okay.
But if Southeastern wins, they're 10-4. That's a nice little record. You know what I'm saying? That's not bad to start their season.
Good for them.
Okay.
But okay,
just saying, they're down 2-1 right now.
Going back to my question.
What?
Why does that happen? Like, you always see upsets during midweeks, especially for LSU baseball. I feel like we're notorious for that.
well, I don't want to ever like talk down about teams that they're playing midweek, but I'm just saying like normally it's not your SEC weekend, right? So you're saving some of your best arms. Your best arms are only going to pitch on the weekends. Maybe they pitched a lot the past weekend. Coach early in the season might be giving some guys some opportunity in the lineup that might traditionally not be getting those reps, those at-bats. Maybe playing guys in different positions, that kind of stuff to see who he can challenge on the weekend, that kind of stuff. And honestly, too, I mean, sometimes it's hard to get up. You're on a bus going to Southeastern, and where's that, Hammond? 45 minutes, right?
Yeah, it's about 45.
It might just not be the same as playing at home against an SEC team or a weekend series where you got 13,000 people in the stands, that kind of stuff. So sometimes there's those letdown games. You see it all the time. It happens. So, and baseball is one of those games. It just happens. Like, you sometimes lose games, and as part of it. So
I'm so excited for Coach to get here because I know that
there he is. He just walked in.
I spoke it into existence.
Let's go. Coach, you ready to roll? We got a seat waiting for you.
We're already live. You don't have to wait.
You don't have to wait or
You
anything.
don't have to wait.
No, it's ready. The mic is
people are
waiting
ready
for
for
you.
you.
Yeah, Coach, what's going on? How are you?
Heard you had dinner.
Yeah.
He came straight from dinner.
I know.
Ready
This is a
to
super
roll.
chill atmosphere. This is great. Super.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We have people on YouTube, so that's it. We're waiting on that. We're watching the end of the game on the laptop here.
Great.
So-
Look at that picture, Dylan.
I know, and that's so we were just saying.
Look at that.
This is the brand and the company that he's smoking in that picture, which
No
is really
kidding.
cool. Yeah,
Isn't
really
that great?
cool. Yeah.
I've not
Yep.
been here before. This is really
Really?
cool.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Are
Good
you a
little
cigar
setup.
guy?
I'm not a cigar guy. I'm just not a tobacco guy. I never
got you.
have been, but don't blame people. People love a good cigar.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I usually save it for special occasions and stuff, but so
Yeah.
I might light it up tonight
I feel
on
like
the
this
show.
is.
Yeah,
This
I
is
think
the
so
first
too.
is it a
one.
special occasion tonight?
This is
Yeah,
our
it's
first.
the
This is our
first Beyond
first
the
live
Box.
show that we've done.
I am so honored to
Yeah.
be on your first
And you're our first
live
guest,
show.
so-
Ever.
Oh, this is wonderful.
We
Thank
have to ask
you.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
We're-
so if Anthony lights that up, are you going to judge him? We were talking about this before
Am I
you got
going to
here.
what?
Are you going to judge him if he lights it up?
The only judgment I have ever had of Anthony Ranaudo is that he's one of the most outstanding human beings I've ever met.
How
So he could
sweet.
never do anything to disappoint
Wow.
me.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate that. That means a lot for real.
Yeah, you know
We're-
I feel
I
that
know,
way.
I know. We were thinking about just surprising you, and I was just going to start lighting up.
That's hilarious.
I told him, I was like, just light the cigar and see what he
Are
says.
you a cigar smoker, Abby?
I have smoked cigars on special occasions, but I don't know how I feel about doing it on camera. I might embarrass myself. If I don't do it right, I might embarrass myself.
You don't want me to smoke one because I'll start coughing
Coughing, yeah.
uncontrollably.
Yeah. Well, you don't inhale the cigar smoke. You just kind of puff it a little bit
Is
too.
that
So
right?
that's well.
My
try not
father
to.
used to smoke cigars. My uncles did. All these Italian men, sitting around, having a good cigar.
Makes
But I just tobacco has just never appealed to me. That's just a personal
I'm
thing.
with you. I don't smoke anything with tobacco. That's the only thing. Special occasions, but usually I have to have a little drink with me or something with it.
Is that right?
So
I think
but-
Ochenko's a cigar smoker, isn't he?
yeah, I think it's something about the Italian blood, right? Like you said,
Must be.
it's got to be in our
Yeah.
blood a little
Maybe
bit.
I should start.
Here they go with the
maybe,
Italian.
you've gone your
blood.
whole life without it. Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't
but if you
know.
want
I don't
to,
know.
I want to be there if you smoke your first cigar, though. That's for
Okay,
sure.
all
So,
right,
We have
it's
to
a deal.
document that.
Yeah,
We have to
100%,
document
yeah.
it
It's
when
a
it
deal.
happens.
Yeah.
All right, can you give us an update on where the game is?
So they just made a pitching change, so there's not really too much of an update. Gavin Guidry just took the mound. They're down 2-1 in the bottom of the 8th.
I
yeah.
listened to the radio as I
Yeah.
was driving over here.
So, but this is a weird broadcast because they're not showing the count and the
Oh, is that
like.
right?
Yeah, it's weird. Oh, they just started showing it again. There we go. So
Okay.
it's first and third, 1 out, bottom 8, 1-0 count right now. So
Oh, they got an out.
yeah, they got an out. Yeah,
Guidry came in and got the out.
I don't know if he got the out. I didn't see it, but base hit, 3-1,
Oh, really?
Where are the runners?
3-1. What?
Where are your
Fir-
runners at?
first and second, 1 out right now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
They,
yeah.
that we had him picked off and they called a balk on the pitcher.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of saw that in the background. We were just starting at that happen when that happened. yeah.
Without seeing it, I couldn't tell you what happened. But
It looked like a good
was
move,
a
so
tie
maybe it was
ball
suited,
game
yeah.
in the 7th. It must,
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anthony, you and I both know how tough these midweek games are on the road
That's funny.
against an in-state opponent. They said on the I heard Jeff Palermo and Bill Franquez say record crowd tonight.
Yeah.
Seems like every time we took our team on the road in the SEC, it was a record crowd, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a huge game for the Hammond community
is.
or the Lake Charles community or the, Natchitoches community, wherever you go. Thibodaux, they love to see LSU. They root for LSU every game except for when their home team is
Yep.
playing them.
Exactly.
And it's always a dogfight.
Yeah.
Although I remember in 09 we went to Southeastern and Shemp had a big day, had a
Yep.
couple home runs. We won 16-5.
That was nice.
Pretty good memory.
That was a good one.
2009.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, she asked me right before you sat down. She was like, "What is the reason that that there's these games that big games.
So let me tell you the history of this. So when Skip Bertman was the athletic director and he hired me, he sat me down very shortly after I had arrived, and he said, look, you schedule however you want to. I'm not going to force you to do anything. But I think it's important for you to take the LSU team around the state.
Yeah.
He said, I worked really hard at making people in this state understand the sport of baseball. And I know, and he said this to me, he goes, I know you're all for making baseball big and promoting the game. And the more you can take the LSU Tigers, the flagship team, top-ranked team, to these different communities, the more it exposes college baseball to those areas. And so, what I did so this was my dilemma from a scheduling standpoint, Anthony, was you have 56 games scheduled, 30 of them are conference games, and then you have 4 weekends of non-conference play. I didn't want to play an in-state team for a whole weekend series. So it left you 14 dates in the middle of the week. Well, we were playing Tulane home and away in those days. We played UNO home and away because I had played there. And then we played the Wally Pontiff Memorial game in New Orleans. So that was 5 of our 14 dates. We only had 9 dates left.
Yeah.
So what I did was I called every coach of an in-state school, and I can't remember how many of them there were. It seemed like there were 7 or 8. But I called them all, and I said, listen, I can't play you home and away. That's just the numbers don't allow us to do that. We only have 9 dates to play everybody.
Yeah.
So I said, look, if you'll bring your team every year to the box, we'll pay for your bus. We'll give you a post-game meal. We'll make it a zero-budget item for you. But we will also come to your place every 4th or 5th year, depending on how many teams take advantage of this offer that I'm making, and it'll determine how often we can come there. Well, most of the schools were like so ecstatic.
Yeah,
they would thank me profusely, like, really, you do that for us? And listen, I put our players into difficult situation. You go play at McNeese, you go play up at Louisiana Tech, or you play, wherever you played, Thibodeau. It was a World Series game for them.
Absolutely.
But I thought it was a good experience for our players. First of all, most of the facilities were not as nice as our facility, and it made our players understand how fortunate they were to have what we had by going back in their years and seeing, less than perfect facilities. But it was a great way to promote the game throughout the state. And, listen, once in a while we dropped one. Although we had a 2-year stretch, Anthony, where we did not lose a midweek game. Abby, this was the first year we didn't lose a single midweek game. Was the first time in LSU baseball history that had been accomplished. And then we did it again the next year.
What year?
What year? Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
This was, it might have been.
It wasn't 09 because we lost to Nichols, remember?
Okay, that's right.
So it had to have
maybe
been,
it was 10 and 11 or 11 and 12. I'd have to go back and check. But we had like it was like a 45-game winning streak in midweek games.
Really?
And, people criticized me later in my career because we drop a game here or drop a game there. But honestly, for 2 years, it was like 2.5 years, we didn't lose a single midweek game.
Oh, my God.
And but I thought it made us better to go on the road in these tough environments and find ways to win, with not your top pitching either,
No.
So anyway, but I did it because Skip encouraged us to do it, and I just thought it was a good thing for everybody concerned. But it was also tough to win those games.
Well, that's what Abby was saying. I mean, like you said, you don't have your top pitchers. You might be tinkering with the lineup a little bit, letting some other guys get some opportunities. Maybe they're playing well here and there in practice. You want to see if they can crack the weekend, lineup, that kind of stuff. So, but I didn't know that you reached out to the coaches and did that for them. Good for you, Coach. I mean, I always
everyone took us up on it. There were 2 schools that didn't.
Which ones?
Louisiana Tech and UL Monroe did not take us up on the offer.
What would be the reason that they wouldn't want to do that?
They just didn't want to feel like they were giving credit to LSU for being a more premier
Their basketball
program.
team did the same thing recently. They
Yeah.
won't play LSU's.
La Tech? Really?
They won't play LSU.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
No, good for you, though. That's the way,
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, most coaches probably love that, even just from an experiential standpoint for the kids. Why? I mean, the coach, right? Like, I mean.
But, Anthony, every town we went into was, and I told the coaches, I said, look, we're only coming to your place once every 4 or 5 years.
Right.
You can charge whatever you want for your tickets.
Right.
You don't have to give us any
That's
of the
what I
money.
mean, yeah.
It's all for you, so it's your big payday.
Your draw, yeah.
And, and I explained to him that, look, I don't have to tell you this, but when you play LSU, and I don't mean this to sound so pompous, but the truth of the matter is the game was going to be on television.
Yeah.
It was going to be reported on the front page of the sports section tomorrow. You were going to have highlights on the local news. And if you're fortunate enough to beat LSU, I mean, what a feather in your cap. So
Absolutely.
It was going to help recruiting. And most of the coaches saw it that way, and they were very grateful that we did that.
Wow.
But, it's also tough to win the games. And I think we lost at Southeastern maybe 2018. I think we lost a one-run game 5-4. They might have even walked us off, as I recall. But, once in a while it's baseball. You're not going to win every ball game.
No, that's exactly. That's what I said. It's the game sometimes too, right?
I got to ask about Nichols. You said that pretty.
Also, to
Why do
interrupt
you
you, sorry,
remember that?
3-1 going into the 9th. They got an insurance run, so it's the top of the 9th. My computer just froze for a second,
Wait,
so
mine too. It's okay.
I think I saw a little flicker of the light, so the Wi-Fi might be out, or might have been out for a split second, or whatever. The internet.
I think
Jay,
we have.
okay, we're okay.
I think Brady Neal
Nice.
made the last out, so we'd be probably 4-hole in our order.
What's that? Yeah,
Probably
he was
or
leading off. It was
5-hole
0-2.
maybe,
Yeah,
5-hole.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was. It was 0-2 when it froze or whatever. So maybe they'll bring it back. I don't know, but
Yeah.
Wait, so my
Yeah.
question,
Sorry.
you remember losing a midweek to Nichols?
I do.
Why
I don't
do-
remember
why do
the
you remem-
details.
I
though.
do.
Okay, but why?
Yeah, Coach probably
You do.
remembers a lot of the
Why do you
details.
remember
Yeah.
all of
We
this?
lost 3-1,
Yeah.
and let's see. I think we also lost that midweek game that year to UL, Lafayette. And Coleman gave up a home run in one of those games. I used him out of the bullpen in the 9th inning. He gave up, or top
I think
of
that
the
was
ninth.
UL.
That was UL.
Yep.
So it was Matty Ott that gave up the game winner, I think, against Nicholls State.
Wow.
But we lost 3-1. I think it was the same score that we lost to UL. That was actually at home. We lost.
The
to
UL was at
Nichols.
home, yeah. Oh no, Nichols, yeah.
Nichols.
Yeah, yeah,
Both,
yeah.
I think
they
both
were
of
both.
them
I think
were,
the
yeah.
UL was at home
Both
too.
of them
Yeah.
were at home.
Yeah.
So here we won 57 games that year, Anthony, which was the SEC record.
Yeah.
And yet we lost a midweek game to Nichols and lost a midweek game to UL.
Yep.
And we lost a home series to
Illinois.
Illinois, and we lost a home series to Tennessee.
Yep. That was when
and they were the last place team in the league.
Yep.
And yet, despite those, we went on to win the national championship and break the SEC record for wins in a season.
Yeah.
So it's just,
Wow, when you put it like that, that's crazy.
It's the nature of baseball.
Yeah.
You just can't win every game.
No.
It's just impossible.
Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to. That's what happens, right? Like you always hear about the look forward game. The next game that and you used to always preach that to us. Hey, let's not look forward to Friday. This is important. That kind of stuff. But sometimes you're kids and stuff, and you're like, yeah, it's Nichols, right? Like,
I remember very vividly that day we played Nichols because Ochinko came into the outer office.
I told her the story.
And
Please
I
tell
heard
it.
him say to somebody, "Hey, who are we playing tonight?" and then he made this gesture like it wasn't that big of a deal. And then we go out and get beat. And trust me, Ochinko has heard about it many times in the years to follow.
Absolutely. Ross Brzezowski tells it all the time. I don't know what's the age appropriate here, but it wasn't the best gesture.
No.
But yes, I do remember that, and I remember that's one of our inside stories all the time. We always say Nichols State, unbelievable, but that's hilarious.
But you know how much I love Sean,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I can give him a hard time.
Absolutely.
Once
And
in a
he
while.
did pretty well in the World Series for us a couple times. He had
Did he really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just ask him.
Yeah, just ask him. We got first and second, 2 outs, 3-1 in the 9th. So
Who's the batter?
it just came back on. So they just walked Bingham. So who would be after Bingham? I'm trying to think. Bingham bats like 6 maybe. I saw the box score. Number 33. I don't recognize who this is.
Oh, that's Ethan Fry. I think.
Fry, yeah.
Must be a pinch hitter.
Oh, he's getting taken out.
Pinch hitting.
Or maybe they're making a pitch. Oh, they must be making a pitching change. Yeah. Or Jay called a timeout because Jay's talking to him.
We got runners on. You watching the game?
I'm watching it live.
Oh,
right
no
here.
kidding.
Yeah.
He's got it on the laptop.
look
I got it on the laptop. I'm nerding out, Coach.
Huh?
I'm nerding out a little bit. They
Yeah,
have it
it's
on the
okay.
TV, and we're a little ahead of them right now. So.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
All All right, you guys obviously have a great relationship. I know y'all share a lot of stories. So I kind of want to talk about that kind of thing. I know you've told me so many throughout your time on the team and even after. But kind of talking about recruiting,
Talking about
recruiting.
Recruiting.
You recruited a lot of guys on this team this year, but I want to hear stories about recruiting him.
Oh, Anthony?
I told her about the in-home visit,
Oh, I
Coach.
know.
And do you remember?
Do I remember? First of all, so I have to travel from Baton Rouge to, what was the name of your hometown in New Jersey?
Jackson, New Jersey.
Jackson, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't get there. You know what I mean? It took me, first of all, my flight was delayed, and when I had to make my connection, which I think was in Atlanta, I missed my connection.
Oh, gosh.
So instead of getting there in the afternoon to get a chance to watch him pitch in a playoff game, I didn't get there until probably 7 o'clock at night. So I'm waiting for him at his house when he gets home, and he did not pitch very well that day, and they got beat, and their high school season was over. So
Man.
what happened?
Somebody's yelling.
We got a base hit to make it 3-2. Runners on first and third. Second and third. Wow.
Second
Somebody's
and third.
really
Wow.
excited.
Who got the hit?
It was, I guess it was Fry.
And who?
Right.
There's 2 outs, runners on
There's
second
2 outs,
and
runners
third.
on first. There was first and second. Malam just scored, yeah. Malam, is that how you say it? Malam?
Milan.
Milam.
Milo.
Steve.
Yeah,
They
Steven,
call
yeah.
him Monster.
Monster. Yeah, that's what I call him. That's what it's a lot easier than pronouncing
Recruited
his
him
last
when he
name.
was in the 10th grade. He's from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
I love that.
Nolan Kane comes to me and he says, Coach, there's a kid, he's 5'6", from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I really want to recruit this guy. And I'm like, Nolan, come on, a little more physicality. Maybe,
Right,
because,
right.
Coach, you're going to love this kid when you see him play. And sure enough, I went and saw him play, and I was like mesmerized by him. Just a great little ball player.
Yeah.
And switch hitter. I mean,
He's one of my favorite players on the team this
yeah.
year. He's
So, when Mr. Billy Guitro had the team over to his house for a preseason dinner, I
Yeah.
was invited, and I saw Steve, and I got to visit with him a little bit privately, and he had a
wow.
what happened? What happened?
Kling just hit a double. Sorry. Kling just hit a double to go ahead. Let's go. 4-3
wow.
LSU.
No kidding.
Paxton Kling, let's go, baby.
How about that? I recruited Paxton Kling too.
Oh, he's that's what I'm saying. That's what I put that in the notes. I was like, let's go, baby.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was talking to Steve Milam because he had a poor fall, and didn't look like he was going to play very much, And so I took him off to the side.
This fall or your?
This was
okay, yeah.
just a week before the season began this year, and I said, Steve, look, don't get discouraged. Then I told him the story about how Tyler Hanover,
Yep.
Austin Nola, Mikey Mautook in their freshman year did not start in the lineup at the beginning of the season.
Yep.
But that they kept getting opportunities to get into games, and eventually, every time I put them in the game, they would do something good. And eventually, they won the confidence of the coach, and I ended up inserting each of them individually, and they ended up leading us to the national championship.
Yep.
Or at least being very critical players
Huge.
for it.
Yeah.
And I said, look, just be patient, keep working hard, be ready when you get your opportunity, because I know what kind of ball player you are, and it's not going to take long when you get your opportunity to Jay Johnson's going to really fall in love with you.
Yeah.
Well, second game of the year, he put him in.
Yeah.
He got the game-winning hit,
Yeah.
and it seems like he's been playing every game
Yep.
since then and doing great things.
Dude is a stud. I love him.
But Abby, in answer to your question, getting back to Anthony, the recruitment of Anthony. So I went to Jackson, and he comes home and he's kind of down in the dumps because he didn't pitch very well, And I'm thinking, oh, this is not going to be a great home visit because I know Anthony's emotional and he feels like he let his team down, whatever.
God.
So we started to visit a little bit in the living room, and he says, hey, Coach, do you mind? I know we're going to go out to dinner, but my grade school wants to honor me at an assembly tonight. Would you mind going with me to the to this assembly.
Why are you shaking your head?
It's just funny.
So-
It's just a funny story.
So I
like,
went to the
It's
assembly,
a grade
you know.
school.
it's a
So
great.
it's
It's an
grade
elementary.
school.
Like,
It
I
was-
mean, come on. Like, I'm
But
just
you
like,
know,
it's funny.
there's like a couple hundred people there in the
Yeah.
cafeteria.
Yeah.
They have a stage up there, you know, and the people are talking, and all of a sudden the principal or somebody goes, you know, we have a special guest here tonight. You know, the LSU baseball coach is here because they're recruiting Anthony. And we'd like him to come up and say a few words.
You gave a speech? No.
So I go up to the
It
stage
was unbelievable.
and I say a few things about Anthony and get the crowd kind of fired up, you know.
How
This is the
well-
second time I've met him. Like, I mean,
was
I
gonna
met him
say,
on my
how well
visit.
did
You know,
you know
we
him?
talked on the phone a few times. You know, like that kind of stuff.
And then
but
we went to a really good Italian restaurant.
Sola Bella, right by my
Oh,
house.
but
yep.
the antipasta
Oh,
was
so
so. I can still remember the salami and the cheese that
Yep.
I ate that night.
One of my favorite. It's
Oh,
a staple when I
yeah.
go home. It's one of
Yeah.
my staples. Yeah, and I haven't eaten dinner tonight, so my stomach is.
I know, that just made me so hungry. That
So
just
we
made
had
me
a
so
we had a
hungry.
nice visit. Anthony was already committed to coming to LSU, but in all honesty, I thought it was a long shot that he would show up to school because he was a very good, outstanding professional
Yeah.
prospect. But you know, my recruiting coordinator was a guy named Terry Rooney, and Terry was pretty influential in these guys coming to school. I think we had 10 players drafted
Yeah.
in our first recruiting class, Anthony,
Yep.
and only one of them signed professionally.
Yeah.
Drew Cumberland
I was just gonna say. I remember. Yep.
was an infielder, and the other 9 all came to school. So we had the number 1 recruiting class in the country. Of course, Anthony was one of the headliners.
Right.
There was a guy named DJ LeMahieu that didn't turn out to be a bad
He's
player.
average, slightly above average.
Guy named
bit.
Micah Gibbs turned out to be all right.
Yeah.
Leon Landry, Chad Jones. I mean, we had some good players in that
That was a
recruiting
fun
class.
class.
But you know, so Anthony came to school, Abby, in his first year, he had some arm soreness. And so he really didn't pitch that much. I don't remember how many innings, but it couldn't have been much more than 10 innings.
What's that? My freshman.
Yeah.
13, I think, something
13
like that. Yeah,
innings. But in the Super Regional Championship game, we were winning by a big score, and I had Anthony pitch the 9th inning. And the reason I wanted him to pitch the 9th inning, even though it was only his 13th inning of the year, I knew next year we were going to really be counting on him, and I wanted him to have that experience and that sensation of getting the last out of a big game and a dog pile being on top of him. And he went out there in 1, 2, 3 inning against Cal Irvine, dog pile. We're going to Omaha. Well, the very next year, he was our number 1 starter and an All-American. And, you know, I don't know how many times he was on the mound under a dog pile that year because, you know, very rare for a guy to pitch a
Right.
complete game. But his next year as a junior, when he was fighting his way back from another little bit of an arm injury, I actually brought him in out of the bullpen in the SEC championship game in the tournament, and he pitched 3 shutout innings against Alabama. We got a base hit to score a run in the top of the 11th inning, I think it was. And after Anthony got the last out, big dog pile on him. And all I could think about was his freshman year, why I put him in that game.
Yep.
And it ended up coming to pass again. Plus, he was the starting pitcher the year before in our national championship game, winning pitcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He won. I think you were the winning pitcher in 2 of the 3 games, weren't you, Doc?
Yeah, I won the game against Arkansas to go into the final series.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we blew
Did
them
you
out.
get were you the winning pitcher against Virginia?
No, that was like my worst game of the year. I only pitched like 3 innings, and we
Yeah.
wound up coming back. I think I came out and it was like we were
Yeah.
tied like 2 or
Yeah.
3, like 3-3 or something like that. But I wasn't filling up the zone. It was one of those nights I was just off, and you took me out early. Yeah.
But the game that sent us into the finals to win our side of the bracket, our side of the tournament, he pitched against Arkansas. Arkansas had a great team, and he went 6 innings and threw 62 pitches.
Yeah.
Okay, and we blew him out, which allowed me to take him out after 6 innings, which allowed me to bring him back then on 4 days rest for the national championship game.
Yep.
So because he was so efficient in that game, first of all, he was mad at me. I didn't pitch him the night before.
Yeah.
I've told her so many little side stories about
Yeah.
this stuff too. So
I
it's-
like hearing it from your perspective, though.
He was mad. I went to his hotel room after we had won the first
LSU
game.
won, by the way. Ackenhausen just closed it out.
Nate
Did they really?
There we go.
Good
Yep.
win.
What was the final?
4-3.
4-3.
Yep.
So after we won the first game against Texas to best 2 out of 3, and Anthony wanted to pitch the next game on 3 days rest.
Uh-huh.
You know, because he just wanted the ball all the time, you know.
I told
And
Coach Gruey right before we shook
I
hands.
went to his room, and I said, you're not going to pitch tomorrow night. And he was mad. And I said, let me explain to you why. And this is a true story, okay? In 1971, my father's team, my father's junior college team, was in the finals against a team from Arizona. And the other team had to beat his team twice. And just like Texas need to beat us twice,
Right.
okay? And my dad went with his best pitcher in the first game, and he lost 2-1, and it was demoralizing to the team. The pitcher pitched great,
Yep.
but they didn't score enough runs,
Yep.
and it was just demoralized his team. And the next night, the team from Arizona beat him handily, and they won the national championship. I was 14 years old at the time, and I swore that if I was ever in that situation
Yep.
as a coach someday, that I would save that number one pitcher instead of bringing him back on short rest. And Anthony will tell you that so the next night we lost to Texas, but their starting pitcher pitched a phenomenal game. So Anthony would have gotten beat because our
just-
team,
yeah,
we
tip your-
scored,
yeah,
we scored
we-
one run.
yeah.
We wouldn't have won scoring one run. But after the game was over and we had lost, so now tomorrow night's going to be the national championship game. I grouped the team up right around the third base line, and I could see they were all kind of hanging their heads a little bit, right? Because they thought they were going to win the national championship
Yeah.
that night. And I said to the team, hey, listen, everybody pick your chins up, look at me, and listen to what I have to say, all right? If I would have told you the first day that we met way back in August, and I told you that there's going to be 2 teams playing one game for the national championship, and we were going to be one of them, and that we had Anthony Ranaudo being our starting pitcher in that game, would you have taken that deal? And they all smiled at me and nodded their heads very, very confidently. I said, well, that's the situation. One game, 2 teams playing, and we got Ranaudo on the mound.
Coach is trying to make me tear up. It's got to be the smoke in here.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
it,
I'm sure.
I tell him every time he tells me this story.
And
go.
I told him, I said, look, when we walk off this field, I don't want to see anybody hanging their heads. We're going to get on the bus. We're going to play the music loud. We're going to go get our sleep tonight, and tomorrow we're going to wake up and we're going to win and we're going to play that night, and we're going to win the national championship. And behind Anthony Ranaudo, we did it.
Coach,
I love that story.
it's my favorite
I
story
love that
all the
story.
time. Yeah, I tell it, and I'm like, there's no way I can tell it without having tears in my eyes. So I'm happy you told it on this stage. That was good.
He did tell it one time on Valley Vision, and he cried. He fully cried. He
Okay,
did.
relax.
It was sweet.
Relax.
You can
Relax.
walk.
Yeah, you guys can go by. Yeah, those are the stories though that.
So y'all are very loving, but was there ever a time that y'all butt heads?
I
There
don't
had to
remember
be.
any times, but I'm sure that Anthony, all of my former players, Abby, I can't think of one that doesn't, all right? But every time we're together, especially when there's a group of them, they all get on me about little situations that happen that I don't even remember that
No,
well.
Yeah, you don't remember. Yeah.
Because now they're all grown men and they're very
Yeah.
confident. They're not intimidated by the coach, right? And so they give it to me good, and they laugh and I say, boy, you guys make me sound like I was so mean. Yeah, I wasn't mean, was I?
Well, my story with you, the only time that I ever felt like we butted heads, and it wasn't even butted heads, it was just me being a kid, like whatever, right? So yeah, I think you'll remember this. It was Alabama, maybe, I think coming back after my injury my junior year, and you were cheering me on, but on the top step, you're like, come on, Anthony, I know you can do it. And I was like, Coach, I know I can do it. I know you know I can do it. And we kind of like butted heads, and I realized, and Gruey came down, he's like, you talked to Coach like that? And I was like, oh, shit. And I was like, I did. And I remember going to your office after the game, and we talked a little bit, and you were like, talk to me tomorrow morning. And I was like, okay. And I remember I didn't sleep that whole night, and I was like so scared. Next morning, we had a great talk. We were in the dugout and all that stuff, and we hugged it out, and it was all love.
I
but-
remember that story
Yeah.
actually really well.
Yeah.
So what happened was Anthony had pitched the opening game of the season, and he went 5 innings, and he pitched great, but the next morning he had a sore elbow. So he had what we call a stress reaction in his elbow. It was short of a stress fracture, but he had some fluid buildup, and it was like the beginning of a stress fracture if we didn't take care of it. So he had to sit out for at least 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I didn't want him sitting out because he was our best pitcher.
Right.
But I told him, I said, Anthony, I am not putting you into a game until you are 100% healed. I know you're anxious to get back, but you have a future in baseball.
Right.
I'm not going to put you at risk. You've given so much to the team, so I'm going to trust you that when you tell me there's absolutely no pain and there's no evidence of an elbow in the X-rays or whatever, then we'll start working you back in, okay? Well, basically he missed this whole spring training, so by the time he's ready to pitch again, we're in the heart of the SEC schedule.
Yeah.
So it's a Friday night. He's ready to get back out on the mound, and we're playing Alabama. So he's struggling in the first inning a little bit with his command because he's rusty. And I'm just encouraging him, from the dugout, like, Anthony, come on, hang in there, buddy. You're all right. Keep battling. And Alabama's hitter, Taylor Dugas, comes up at left-handed hitter, and he hits a ball down the left field line that's fouled by a foot.
In today's world, would have got overturned.
And the umpire, in today's game.
Yeah, today's game, yeah.
But back then, the guy called it fair, and it was a bases-loaded clearing triple. And it was a terrible call, and the kid is out there struggling, and I'm feeling bad for him, and I'm just trying to give him some words of encouragement, So you must have said something to the pitching coach. So the pitching coach comes down to me and he said, Anthony wants you to quit yelling encouragement to him on the mound because you're making him nervous. And I said, wait a minute. This is a kid that pitched in front of 30,000 people in the national championship game last year. I'm making him nervous because I'm yelling encouragement to him? And he says, yeah, he doesn't want you to yell. I said, you're telling me Anthony Ranaudo told you to tell me to not yell encouragement to him?
Is that your side?
And,
is that really?
So what you probably don't know is that I told the pitching coach, well, if that's the way Anthony feels, then tell him to start pitching better. I'm going to yank his ass out of the game.
Get out of here. Oh, man. I think Gruey had my back a little bit on that one because I think I might have used some choice words like, tell Mainieri he needs to shut the fuck up. And Gruey was like, I'm not going to tell him that. And I'm like, well, you better tell him something or whatever.
I never knew you were so soft.
Oh, my God.
What was wrong with you?
We're clipping that.
Well, I guess you're worried. But
all I was doing was encouraging
One of the best, that's what you said after the game. You were like, Anthony, I don't get it. There's 13,000 people here. Why do you hear me? I'm saying positive things. I'm like, Coach, I'm trained to hear you. You're my coach. I'm like, I'm listening to everything.
All I was doing was encouraging you. What were you mad at me for? I wasn't mad at you.
Come on, we know about projection and emotions. I think I was just mad at myself and the game and the umpires, and I had to take it out on somebody. So.
Anyway, I guess that was probably the only time, but I don't
remember.
No,
and again, we hugged it out the next morning, Saturday morning. And
I don't ever remember getting mad at him.
Yeah.
Even that night, I wasn't mad. I was just encouraging him.
Yeah.
But I don't ever remember getting mad at Anthony because nobody worked harder than him. Nobody competed harder than him. And he produced. I mean, he was great. I will tell you this one story. So Anthony had a straight over the hand delivery, Abby, okay? So in my experience with working with pitchers, I know that, when they're here, a little slight three-quarters, they'll miss inside when the ball runs. They might miss outside when they're trying to nibble on the corner. But a pitcher that comes straight over the top, the difference between getting a pitch on the downward angle and in the strike zone is the release point here, or if you here, it's going to be about build of the. There's very low margin for error, So I always worried, with Anthony because he didn't pitch that hardly at all as a freshman because of the soreness in his arm. So I didn't really, know him that well yet as a pitcher, because he didn't pitch that much that first year. And I always worried, would he be able to make an adjustment if his release point was a little bit off, So we're playing Auburn one night, Friday night, big game. They got a really good hitting team, a lot of power hitters. And Anthony.
Do you know where this is going?
Oh, I do. I knew exactly what he said.
Okay.
Funny story, actually. And he said
goes
he throws
out
right
there,
here.
First batter, he walks him on 4 pitches in a row. And I mean, every one of the pitches.
I mean, they're not even close.
We're
Like,
crossing.
yeah. Micah's jumping
about-
to catch him.
The catcher's like jumping for the ball. You know,
he's
the
looking at
ball's-
me like, "What are you doing?"
And 4 in a row. Then the next batter, the first 2 pitches, same thing. So it's like the first 6 pitches of the game, he's like not even close. They're all up here, you know. So I go out to the mound just to calm him down a little bit, you know, slow things down, try to get him to make an adjustment with his release point. So I get out to the mound and I go, Anthony, what's up? What's going on? And he goes, I can't feel my hand. He said, you can't feel your hand? What does that mean? And he goes, I just can't feel the ball in my hand.
That's what I remember saying too. Yeah, I'm like,
And
I just can't feel the ball in my hands.
With all the great knowledge and experience that a coach can have, I go, well, start feeling your hand.
And also, he never came out for mound visits unless he was taking people out. So I'm like,
6
oh
pitches
shit.
in.
Yeah, I'm like, oh god, like what's happening
6
here?
pitches in,
Yeah, I'm
he's
like,
on the mound.
I'm lost. Yeah, I'm searching for
Well,
everything. Yeah.
the
What do you
next-
mean you couldn't
hey,
feel your hand?
I don't know. It was just one of those
Couldn't
things.
feel-
I don't
feel
know.
the ball in his hand. I'm like, all right. So just start feeling the ball. Let's go.
Figure it
I mean,
out.
what do you say to that, right? What do you want me to do? Put you in an X-ray machine and see if your nerves are working in your
You all right? Are
fingertips?
you sure you're okay? We got to get your brain checked out. That's what he really wanted to say.
So the next pitch, he throws a strike. Now he settles. How many did you strike out that night?
I think I struck out 15. Yeah, 14 or 15. Yeah.
Yeah, struck out 15 that night. Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was
I
like
locked it in after that. It was
the
the words of
light switch
encouragement. I
went
started
off.
feeling my hand. It was good. Yeah.
The
it was
light
good.
switch went off,
Yeah,
and he
that was it,
dominated the
yeah.
game.
Yeah, it was fun after that. I don't even think I might not have walked another guy after that too. Maybe another one like in this like later in the game. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they-
it was a
and
career high. I
Auburn
think,
had
yeah.
a really good hitting team.
was
They had a
good.
bunch of power hitters. That wasn't.
Hunter Moore.
Wait, that was the weekend that Chad Jones pitched in the
We
third
got to tell
game.
that story.
Come on, that was.
I'll tell the one story about the best part was I was charting the game. So we're talking about Chad Jones, dreadlock of June, that
Yeah.
everybody knows from LSU baseball. He was one of the best football players to ever take the field for us. 3rd round pick by the New York Giants in the NFL, but crazy great baseball player too. So he started the year with
As
us
an
in baseball.
outfielder. He
Yeah,
was
as
a
an
starting
outfielder. Yeah.
outfielder for us.
He was starting lineup.
14 games into the season, he's hitting .350.
Yeah.
But he has to leave the team to go to spring football. We had a new defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
That was when John Chavis came in as a defensive coordinator, and I thought it was important for Chad to go through spring football practice so he could win a starting job for the football team. So he had to, it was too much to play baseball, go through spring football,
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
So I said, Chad, you just go, and when you're done with spring practice, you come back and join the team. Well, by that time, Mikey Matuk had
Yeah.
established himself as a starting outfielder. So Chad comes back to the team. Hey, we got Mikey in center,
Jared
in right.
Yep.
I had moved Ryan Schimpf to
Yep.
left field. I think something to that effect. So there's no room for Chad to regain his starting position. So our pitching coach, to his credit, takes him down to the bullpen to have him throw, because he had pitched in high school, but he hadn't pitched in 2 years now. This is his sophomore year.
And Chad been running his mouth, and because we didn't have a true lefty out of the bullpen really, like
Not really
to
a
be a
great
guy.
one.
So
Yeah.
Chad's like, I could do it, and we're all like, yeah, Chad, whatever. And so Gruey takes him down one day. Lewis Coleman and I were the first 2 out there, and I remember sitting behind him, and he's throwing. This is right before you get out there.
Yeah.
And Lewis and I are looking at each other, and we're like, this man hasn't touched a ball in months, let alone pitched in a game or off a mound in
couple
months.
years.
Yeah, I mean years, yeah. And we're like looking at each other, and I'm like, dude, I can't do this. Like, there's
Yeah.
no way that he's just boom, boom, boom. And he's like, watch this, I could throw a curveball. And we're like, and then he throws a hammer. We're like, what the hell is going on?
So Abby, I'm down around home plate, and this is happening down in the bullpen
Yeah.
down the right field line, and I'm watching the hitter, and I'm working with the hitter during batting practice, and one of the student managers taps me on the shoulder. He comes behind me and he said, Coach Gruey would like you to come down to the bullpen right now. I'm like, what? And I go like this, and I look down the bullpen. I see it's Chad on the mound, right? So I jog down there, and David Gruey is our pitching coach, and he says to me, he goes, hey, watch this. And I see him throw a fastball, and it's like 92, and right there.
I mean.
And then he says, hey, Chad, show Coach your breaking ball. And he goes, woo, this big breaking ball, right? And I'm like, what in the world? So I said, okay, Chad, that's enough. Stop throwing. So this was like a Tuesday. So we didn't have him throw off the mound on Wednesday. And on Thursday, our last practice day before the weekend series, I had him do what we call a sim game, a simulation game, where it was just a pitcher with a catcher throwing against the hitter. And I had a few guys that weren't getting a lot of at-bats, Nick Pontiff and Buzzy, and, you know.
Wet the lat, too.
I wanted a lefty in there, too. So I had these guys go in there and get at-bats against Chad. And I remember Nick Pontiff striking out and him coming back to the dugout, and I'm standing down by the dugout, and I said, Nick, what did you see? And he goes, Coach, I didn't see anything. I couldn't see the ball. His stuff was so nasty, it was unbelievable. So now I'm saying to myself, oh my gosh. All right, so we stopped him from throwing.
Do you remember he let a curve, he slipped a slider and it hit Wet the lat in the head.
Oh, I didn't remember
It did ricochet off his head. It wasn't like a bad or anything, but we were all
that.
but everything other than that was like locked in. He just slipped out of his hand, the one of them, yeah.
So
that was funny. It was just funny Chad moment.
Nobody knows that Chad Jones was on the mound at practice, okay? And we start the series against Auburn on Friday, and we beat them on Friday, we beat them on Saturday, and now we're Sunday. We've got a lead against them late in the game. And we're getting really thin with our bullpen by this time. And so we end up batting in the bottom of the 7th inning. And after our third out, I tell Chad, hey, Chad, I want you to go out and play catch with the right fielder in between innings. You know how a player will typically play catch with the outfielder so that he's got his arm loose, right? I have nobody in this. You know, we got 12,000 people in the stands.
Right.
Nobody's going to really notice that because you're an outfielder. In their mind, they think you're an outfielder.
Right,
you're playing catch with the outfielder, right? I said, after you play catch, though, I want you to get on the mound and start warming up. And he looks at me and goes, really? I said, yeah, I want you to warm up and get ready to come into the game.
Coach, did you give the background, too, that this is like one of the last series of the year? We needed to win this game, right? It was a rubber match, right?
No. We won the first two games.
We did win.
We're going for the sweep.
We're going for the sweep, but it was like we were trying to win the overall, right?
Yeah,
so it was
I mean,
they were
every game in the SEC
right,
is a critical game.
But it was a big game for us. Like it was.
Yeah. But I know our bullpen's getting thin, and the guy that I got in the game, you can tell he's starting to get tired. So we start the top of the 8th inning, and the first batter, he walks him on a 3-2 pitch, and the next batter, he hits with a pitch, and we got a 3-run lead. And they got 3 left-handed hitters in a row coming up the bat.
I'm also sitting in between Coach Mainieri and the pitching coach. I'm doing the chart. So I'm like kind of hearing their little conversations here and there, and I'm like, I think Coach is actually going to put him in the game.
So I turned to the pitching coach, and I basically said, screw it, I'm bringing him in.
I remember being like,
so I start walking to the mound, and like Anthony mentioned earlier, usually I didn't go to the mound unless I was making a pitching change. I'd let the pitching coach go out there to talk to the guy usually, except in desperate situations, like when Anthony threw 6 balls in a row.
Feel his hand, yeah.
But you could start to hear the crowd like murmur. You know, when there's a big crowd and you're out on the field, you can't really hear what anybody's saying. You just hear like this murmur, you know, and because there's only one guy throwing in the bullpen, and it's Chad Jones. And I'm going to the mound. So our knowledgeable fans are saying,
oh, shit.
Oh, my God, is he really bringing in Chad Jones? Nobody in the city knows Chad Jones pitches. Nobody even knows he pitches. They don't know what happened on those 2 practice days, right? I kept it really quiet. So I said, that's it, I'm bringing him in. So I'm walking to the mound, and I'm literally saying to myself, you idiot, this is a no-win situation. Chad's either going to come in and be throwing balls against the backstop, and they're going to boo you off the field when you have to go take him out, or he's going to be awesome, and then they're going to boo you when you take him out because they want him to stay in. So it's a no-winner for me, right? So I bring in Chad, and I said, let's go, Chad. Throw the with all the encouragement in the world. Throw strikes. Let's go.
Throw strikes.
So I walk off the mound, and I can barely look over my shoulder to watch his first warm-up pitch, because I'm afraid I'm going to hear it hitting the backstop.
Oh God, you're like watching like
And I hear
this.
the thump of the ball hitting the catcher's mitt, and I said, okay, that's a good sign,
That's a
right?
good sign. That's good. There we go.
So I said to the pitching coach, don't throw anything but a fastball until I tell you differently. So the first pitch, he pumps a strike in there, and the crowd's going nuts. And I'm like, he goes, can I throw a curve? I said, no, fastball again. The guy fouls it off. And I turn to him and I go, now. And he breaks off this curveball, and
Nasty.
the left-handed batter just buckles his knees, right?
Unbelievable.
And strike 3. The crowd's going crazy. Next batter, same thing. Fastball, strike 1, fastball, strike 2, breaking ball, strike 3. Oh, I forgot to add, the first batter, even though he threw strikes, actually got a base hit off of him. So it loaded the bases with nobody out, and then he struck out these next 2 batters.
Yeah.
And
After the second one, too, is one of the funniest things ever. He's an outfielder, so he strikes him out, and he goes, 2 outs. Pitchers don't ever do that, ever. So he puts his hands up like 2 outs. We're all dying in the dugout, but it's a big part of the game. So we're like, oh my God, just dying laughing. Yeah.
So now after he strikes out the second batter, a right-handed batter's coming up. So I'm going to take him out now and bring in our closer, Matty Ott, who's a right-hander, and he's
Yep.
going to be a better matchup against this batter. So I said, Chad, because I'm thinking now that I'm taking him out, they're going to boo me when I walk off the mound, right?
Yeah.
So I said, Chad, give the ball to Matty. And wait for me, I'm going to walk off the field with you because I know they're going to cheer for him. This way they don't have a chance to boo me.
Incredible. And the best part of the story to me was there's two best parts of the story. Matty gets the out, right? Chad comes over. I'm sitting in the dugout, and I'm just like, unbelievable. I'm pumped. I'm doing the chart. Coach and Gruy sitting next to me. Everything's kind of settled down. Chad just comes over so matter of fact and goes, hey, Coach, thanks for letting me pitch today. Like, just like a kid.
Like a little league
Just
team.
like a kid. I'm like, dude, that's why you're the best ever. Like, unbelievable.
Yeah.
No idea the magnitude. Just thanks for letting me pitch today, Coach.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. And then Micah Gibbs' story was, so when he had runners on second base, we have to do signs and stuff. And this is little stuff that, as a pitcher, when you haven't pitched in a long time, you forget about that stuff, right? So Micah goes, hey, what do you want to do with signs on second? And Chad goes, what do you mean? And he's like, what kind of sign do you want to use? Because you have to mix up the signs, And he's like, I don't know. So Micah's like, okay, I'm just going to put down the first number is the one that you're going to pitch, and then I'm going to put a bunch of numbers and don't even look at them. So Chad just looked at the first number. He's like, okay, I got it. And he starts shaking, and Micah's still doing the numbers and everything. Micah came back in the dugout, and he's like, I don't know how to tell him. Because he just hadn't done it in forever.
I never even knew that story.
Yeah, unbelievable. Just little things. Chad's the man. He's the best
But
dude
then
ever.
fast forward a few weeks, and it's a national championship game, and Anthony is the starting pitcher, and he's pretty much out of gas after 5 innings. Okay. Or after 6 innings, I guess you went 6.
Well, it's 5 and a third because if you remember, we scored a bunch of the runs in the 5th, and you came up to me.
We scored in the 6th inning.
Okay, so I pitched.
We scored in the top of the 6th.
So I pitched.
Yeah, so you had gone 5. Excuse me, we were the visiting team.
Yeah.
So Anthony threw 5 innings, but it was his 3rd start of the World Series, and it was really, really hot. And he's like kind of out of gas, and I know he is. Yeah. He's sweating profusely.
You and I are in the clubhouse in between innings.
Yeah. And Anthony and I are in the clubhouse, and so the first batter is right-handed, and then the next 2 batters are left-handed. So I said, Anthony, do you have enough just to get one more batter out, just the leadoff batter of the inning, and then I'm going to bring Chad in to face the 2 lefties? And he's like, yeah. He's like breathing. Yeah, I got enough to get one more batter.
Every part of me is probably like, come on, Coach, we just scored 7 runs. I'm done. I'm gassed. But I'm like, yeah, you want it? I got it.
Well, we scored 6 runs. But who's counting?
Right.
So it was a 4-4 game when we scored 6 runs in the top of the 6th inning. Anthony goes out, gets the first batter, like it's a fly ball to the center fielder, and like the ball's not even halfway there, and I'm already out of the dugout.
He's walking out. I'm like, come on, it's over.
And then I brought in Chad, and I think he struck out the next 2 batters. And
do you remember how pumped he was coming in? The stadium was going crazy too. Like that was the best handoff. I waited there. I think you told me to wait there too, and I waited there, handed him the ball, and that was the best thing ever. Like him sprinting out, I was like, I have adrenaline. Like just watch. Like he was so pumped up. It was amazing. Yeah.
And then I actually left him in. He pitched the next inning as well, the 7th inning.
Yep.
And it was phenomenal.
He was I mean, those were the little things, that I think people don't give us, you credit for and things like that. Moving Austin Nola to shortstop, making those hard decisions, letting Chad Jones pitch in those situations, and having him become a huge part of our team towards the end of the year. So kudos to you and doing those tough decisions and making those plays, those calls.
I'm going to pause this for a second. I do want to shout out everybody in the chat. It's rolling right now. I know I see a lot of Ranaudos.
A lot of Ranaudos in the chat, baby.
We got my friends as well. We appreciate y'all.
We got the VA Ranaudos in there. Thank you guys. My brother and my nephew and a bunch of his friends that play on their high school baseball team. So
that's awesome.
Shout out to the boys from Virginia.
We appreciate it. Also want to remind y'all to subscribe to the channel. This is our first Beyond the Box on site, but there's a lot more where this came from. We're going to keep going right here, but just subscribe to the channel. We've got great content coming y'all's way, not just Beyond the Box, but athlete interviews, interactive interviews, and a lot more on the horizon. So make sure you follow along with us. And we do have a Dylan Cruz signed baseball sitting next to Anthony right now, and we have raffle tickets. So for $1, you get 1 raffle ticket. Each raffle, if you want 10, you can pay $10.
It's unlimited. You can do as many as you want.
As many as you want. And we'll pull a raffle ticket, and the winner will get that signed baseball by Dylan Cruz. Sorry, had to pause
That's
it.
okay.
You know how these things go. You got the logistics.
Speaking of Dylan Cruz, he hit his first home run in spring training yesterday.
Did he? Let's go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He had a double. Was it earlier today? It might have been today. He hit a double and a home run.
He's
of course,
he's
officially it won't go in the book because it's spring training game.
Right.
But I think Dylan is proving that it's not going to be long before he's in that lineup in the big leagues.
You think he has a chance at getting up there this year?
Oh, I think so.
I think so too. Do you think he has a chance at making the team out of camp?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the manager has given him a lot of playing time, though. He has started several games, major league games. How about this, Anthony? It's a great story. So when I was recruiting Dylan, and we talked, about everything, and Dylan said, Coach, if I come to school, I don't want to just come to school and be a guy. I want to be an icon. And he said, I want to be like Alex Bregman. Like Alex Bregman's my favorite player that you've ever had at LSU.
Wow.
And I want to be like Bregman.
Wow.
So I gave Dylan Cruz Bregman's number, and I told Bregman, don't be surprised if Dylan Cruz called you, because I couldn't have Bregman call him. It would have been against the NCAA rules.
Yeah.
But I said to Dylan, if you ever want to talk to Bregman, here's his cell number. So I told Bregman, be on the alert, So he called Alex one day, and they had a nice long discussion. And anyway, Dylan ends up coming to school, of course, okay? Because everything, happened the way it did. So the other day, the Nationals were playing the Astros.
Oh, wow.
Bregman was in one lineup, and Dylan Cruz was in the other team lineup.
I love that.
They were playing against each other in a major league game.
I love that.
Isn't that great?
That's really great. And I remember when Dylan came as a freshman, there was a big viral tweet about Bregman saying, Dylan had a great first game or something like that. And Bregman was 1-1 in 3 years, and everybody loved that, obviously. They were talking about him going first overall.
Oh,
so
he was
I
wrong.
I know.
Went 1-2.
Yeah, I know, right? So wrong. He would have been 1-1 if they didn't have this whatever Paul Skeens is that you want to say. Roger Clemens on the mound. I don't know, something, whatever he is.
That's crazy.
But
I know you recruited a lot of the guys on this year's team. They just won I guess it's called the Astros Foundation College Classic, but it was the Shriners Classic.
I never played in it, so that was something.
I think 15 was the first year, Anthony. So I have to tell you that story. So
I love that.
So for years, I came here in 2008 or 7. I don't remember the first year that they had that tournament there, but this guy that was organizing the tournament for the Astros called me, and he said, hey, we would love for you to bring the LSU team to this tournament. And I said, I'm not really interested in doing that. Listen, this was a selfish thing, okay?
I'm not interested.
But for 6 years, I was a coach at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, where it snowed all the time.
Right.
So we had to play on the road all the time.
Yeah.
Then I went to Notre Dame for 12 years, where
Makes sense. Yeah.
it's the coldest place on earth, South Bend, Indiana. Yeah. So we had to be on the road all the time.
Makes
so
sense.
now I come to LSU and I said, selfishly, I don't want to go on the road. I want to play. I'm gone. I was gone for 18 years. I was gone recruiting. I was gone with the team. The whole thing. And I'm like, no, we're gonna play at home. Well, then Herb Vincent, who was the associate athletic director at the time at LSU and the baseball administrator and a dear friend of mine, he comes to me and he says, the guy from the Astros is calling me now to see if we could get the team to go to the Minute Maid tournament.
Yeah.
So I said, Herb, what do you think? And he said, well, Houston is the city with the second largest LSU alumni base in the country. Number one is Baton Rouge. Houston has more LSU alums than even New Orleans.
Wow.
So we said it would really be a great thing for our alumni base if you take them over. So in 2015, I said, okay, we'll bring the team, okay? Well, of course, they're getting 20,000 people every time LSU plays, so they love having us here. So the guy wants me to come every year. I said, oh, slow down. I said, we'll come every other year, okay? And anyway, the first year we went, Alex Bregman was a junior. It was his draft-eligible year. And we swept the series, and Bregman played lights out for 3 straight games.
Oh, wow.
And I have to believe that the Astros people were watching him.
Yeah.
And Alex Bregman was the second pick in the draft, the Astros' #1 pick. And, of course, he's played now there for how many years in Minute Maid Park. And he's, the Crawford boxes, he owns them,
amazing.
right?
Thank you.
And, so is that your dinner tonight?
Yeah, this is our dinner,
Okay.
Been a long day. Sorry about that. But
I feel bad that I actually went to Roberto's for dinner tonight and had a little crawfish ate.
I was just going to say, what did you have? Tell us at least. We want to
it was good.
We want to at least think about it. He goes, it was good. It was good.
So Anthony, I went to dinner tonight. Karen and I went to dinner with a guy and his wife that is a finance professor for LSU.
Oh, wow.
So for 3 straight semesters, I have been a guest lecturer for a finance class.
Let's go. Okay.
So yesterday, for an hour and a half Zoom class, I talked about finance.
Let's go. That's all.
Wow.
Her and I went and spoke to a class at LSU yesterday too.
You did?
It wasn't a finance class.
It was not finance.
It was a media class, but
Yeah, well, that's great.
Yeah, it was cool. No, that's awesome though.
But anyway, so he took Karen and I out to dinner tonight.
Really
he
nice.
wanted me to meet his wife, so it was
That's
real
awesome.
nice.
That's really great.
But the class was really about decision making and when to take risk in making decisions.
Nice. Yeah.
And of course, I had to make 100 decisions a day.
Yeah.
For 39 years.
Yeah.
And some of them were very risky decisions.
Absolutely.
And so these students were interested in how I came about making certain decisions, and they wanted to know the background for that, even though it wasn't related necessarily to finance. When you have to make a lot of big decisions and there's a lot of risk involved, you're putting yourself out there. So it was fun.
I always think about, though, and not to get too personal, but I do remember you telling us a story about leaving Notre Dame, and again, you don't have to get into too much of it, but I remember it always stuck with me about you betting on yourself, that it wasn't a guaranteed thing with LSU. You were walking into a program that needed a lot of cleaning up.
Struggled for a couple of years.
And you had a really good thing going at Notre Dame. So, I mean, little things like that people don't know about all the time.
And and I used to tell you guys, look, I used to tell my players at Notre Dame, Anthony, in the biggest games of the year, you can't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
You have to believe in yourself, and you got to go out there and you got to force the action.
Yep.
If you play timid and you play afraid, you're going to get beat.
Always.
So you got to believe in yourself, and you got to go let it rip.
Yep.
So when I was a coach at Notre Dame, I'd been offered several jobs at other schools in and out of the SEC, but I loved Notre Dame and I didn't want to leave Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But then when LSU called, when Skip Bertman called, I took a step back and I said, well, this might be that one school that you'd be willing to do it. But it was still a tough decision.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking about all the advice I'd always given to the players about believing in yourself and not being afraid in the big moments, and making without great risk does not come great reward. You know, there's a chance you can fail.
Absolutely.
But if you think about failing, then you're not going to succeed. You know, you have to believe. And I thought, you know, maybe it's time for me to listen to the advice I've been given to the players for all these years and take a chance. And so, you know, I did. And, you know, I told you guys, you know, that story because, you know, I wanted you to know that, hey, look, I'm not just saying this. I've done it myself.
Yeah. No.
You know, we had it going pretty good at Notre Dame, and I could have finished my career there if I wanted to. But I needed to find out if I was good enough.
Yeah.
I needed to challenge myself against the best.
Yep.
And look, I could have gone down in flames, but you know, I also believed that there was magic in the name LSU, that we could recruit the best players in the country like you and LeMahieu and all your teammates, and that I could inspire them and motivate them and make the right decisions that could lead us to championship level baseball.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it worked out for us.
I'm grateful you did too. I mean, without you, I wouldn't have been at LSU.
Yeah.
So no, absolutely, 100%.
Well,
and we talk about that all the time.
Yep.
Go ahead.
That's
Sorry.
something that we have had that conversation at least 3 different times in the past week and a half, of the fear of failure and, you know, getting thrown into something that is a challenge and stuff. But I want to ask you specifically, when was the moment that you realized, okay, I made the right move, this is where I'm supposed to be, or like, when did it kind of soak in where you work?
All right, so I'm going to really tell you something private now, okay? So my wife and I have 4 children, and we had 3 right in a row, and then we had an 8-year break when number 4 came around, okay? So the oldest 3 were all, when I was offered the job at LSU, they were all college age. One had actually just graduated from Notre Dame, but he had taken a job at Notre Dame, and the other 2 were both in college, one at Notre Dame and one at Ball State.
Yeah.
But South Bend is a very small town. We lived a mile from campus. The kids went to high school right there. You know, my son went to Notre Dame. My daughter was going to go to Notre Dame. One daughter was at Ball State a couple hours away. So I had my family very close to me my whole life. So when I decided to take the job at LSU, it was like sending 3 kids away at one time. But we were the ones that were going away.
Yeah.
But it was like for the first time in my life, I was going to be separated from my children, all but one of them. And we moved down here, and then I had to take my 2 daughters. My oldest son had already driven back to South Bend to start his job working in the football office at Notre Dame. And I had to drive my 2 daughters to New Orleans to put them on an airplane to fly them back to Indiana. I'm not ashamed to tell you that the drive from New Orleans back to Baton Rouge, I cried the entire drive. Like, I thought to myself, what did I do? I fragmented my family. I did this for selfish reasons.
Wow.
And I can't believe that I did this. And I drove straight to the apartment that my wife and I were living in at the time instead of going to the field. And I sat down in a chair in the apartment. I said, I can't believe I did this to our family. And my wife looked at me and she said, well, you made the decision, so you better make it work now.
That's awesome.
And she was exactly right.
That's it. You don't have a choice
no turning back
No.
now. The toothpaste was out of the tube, you know?
I tell her that all the time in business and different things, right? Whatever decision you make is the right one, and you better make it work. That's it. So
anyway, in answer to your question, Abby, the first year was a struggle because you know, we had our best players were freshmen that the previous staff had recruited, but there wasn't a lot besides that, you know, in terms of the talent and so forth. Not to compete, you know, they were good enough to win at some places, but not necessarily against the top teams in the SEC, which is what LSU's standard is, of course. But we went out and we recruited a great class, as I mentioned a couple times in this interview. And the next year, I knew we had a better team, okay? But we were still scuffling along because we didn't know how to win yet. You know, I had to teach these guys how to win, but we were close. I mean, it was one at bat, it was one pitch, it was one play that was keeping us from winning. And as soon as we learned how to do that, I knew that we had a pretty good team. And it happened. You know, there was one day on a Tuesday night in New Orleans against Tulane, and we pulled the game out late in the game, and I told the guys after the game, this is what I'm talking about. This is what we're capable of doing. Tulane had a really good team, and we beat them in their ballpark that night late in the game and held the lead in the 9th inning. And I said, this game's going to vault us now. We're going to start going on a run. Well, little did I know, that was game 1 of a 23-game winning streak.
Wow.
We didn't lose again the rest of the season.
Wow.
We swept the
Literally,
last 4 series in the SEC. We won the midweek games. We swept the SEC tournament. We swept the regional, lost the first game of the super regional, but then won the next 2 and went to Omaha.
Wow.
And then the next year, we won the national championship. But that night at Tulane, when DJ LeMahieu got a 2-run single to give us the lead and Paul Bertassini closed the game out for us, vaulted,
Started the, yep.
But I told you, Anthony will remember this, that fall, we were coming off a 29-26 season in my first year, and we hadn't played a game yet. We hadn't even been on the field yet for practice. And I had my first team meeting with the team, and this is how confident I was. I told the team, I said, 2008 is going to be the last time ever in the history of LSU baseball that anybody's going to take LSU baseball lightly. And we were picked to finish 5th in the SEC West that spring, and we won the West, of course. We were a national seed. We went to Omaha, and the next year we won the national championship.
Yep.
And never again will LSU baseball be taken lightly. And I knew that 2008 team turned us back, got the train back on the tracks, and I think it's going to continue till the end of time now.
Yep.
Wow. What are your thoughts on that?
I was there. I
know.
lived it. I mean, that's what I mean. The man's not lying, and that's what I mean. You look at LSU baseball. The reason my nephew and his friends that play high school baseball are in here is because they love LSU baseball. I love watching. I haven't played there in 16 years. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it is a brand. It's one of the best brands in baseball. It really is. And when I played professional baseball, I was proud to say I played at LSU, and the teams after us, everything, the way Coach runs his program, ran his program, the players that he recruited, like not just the players, but their families, everything, speaks volumes. And the way that we've all developed friendships, I think that's the biggest testament to this man sitting right here is the lifelong friends that we have, the group chat that I have of 30 different guys. Obviously winning a national championship helps that, but I was on 2 teams that didn't win a national championship and still have some of the best friends in the world, right? So I think that's the biggest testament that LSU baseball is. It's a family, it's a community, and I don't think it would have happened that way. You know, obviously Skip started that, but there were some years in between after that, you know, it wasn't guaranteed that way, and Coach brought that back, and I think all of us are happy and proud to say that we're LSU baseball alumni and all that stuff. So, I mean, I could speak for days on that, and Coach Mainieri himself. So, Coach, I asked you to come for 30 minutes. If you want to get rolling you've been here for an hour, we'd love to keep you, but if you want to get rolling, I totally understand, but otherwise I might start crying again and talking about you. But yeah, you're the man, Coach. I really appreciate it more than anything.
It's good to be with both of you, Abby and Anthony, and I wish you nothing but the best. Hey, maybe we brought the luck to the Tigers tonight with their late inning rally.
That was nice.
Their 9th inning rally.
I was a little nervous in the chat. My nephew was saying that LSU had it, but I was like, I don't know. And
he called it. Awesome.
Yeah,
you know, when we won the championship last year, you know, so many of those players were kids, and not only did my staff recruit to LSU, but we coached them too. You know, I think when Ty Floyd was on the mound against Florida, I counted 9 of the 10 players that we recruited here, and 7 of those 9 we actually coached. You know, I recruited Braden Jobert and Josh Pearson, but didn't ever actually coach them. So it was like Blake Dean being recruited by Smoke, or whatever. So, but you know, when we won the championship, all I could think about was, you know, going through the trials and tribulations with those youngsters when Dylan was a freshman, or Jordan Thompson was a freshman, Trey Morgan, Ty Floyd, you know, but guys like Gavin Dugas and Cade Beloso, I had them for 3 years. I had Milazzo and Travinski and those guys for 2 years. And, you know, to see them go out there and win and be these mature adults that were ready to win, it really made my heart flutter, and I in a weird way, I thought it would bring closure for me to my tenure at LSU to see them win the championship, which is what we thought would happen.
Yeah.
And, obviously Jay brought in a few key guys in Skeens and Thatcher Hurd and the third baseman. And, Jay managed the team and did a brilliant job, but I felt a great sense of pride because of the players.
Absolutely.
So I thought it would really bring closure. But then at the opening pitch dinner this year, I was sitting with Alex Milazzo at my table, and I said, Alex, let's figure out how many players are still on the team that I coached. Well, there's only 4 remaining: Javen Coleman, Will Helmers, Milazzo, and Travinski.
That's right, yeah.
But then we counted how many of the players on this year's team that Nolan and myself and Eddie Smith and Alan Dunn recruited. There's 20 players on this year's
Holy shit,
team.
really?
Because you recruit classes
Right, yeah.
a year or two in advance.
Yeah, when they're in like 6th grade, right?
So really from what pretty much the everyday lineup is, with the exception of Tommy White and the new shortstop, the rest of the team, outside of the pitching staff, all 3 catchers we recruited. We recruited Jared Jones, Steve Milam, Josh Pearson, Pat Kling, Jake Brown. I don't know who started in right field today. I didn't see the lineup, but so most of those guys are still guys that I have an interest in because I got to know them through the recruiting process. So I still feel really connected to the LSU program. I think Jay's doing a great job, and he, he's going to do a great job forever. The transfer portal and the NIL, all that stuff makes it a whole new ball game, and I don't see how we can miss, that LSU is going to be strong for years to come. And, I'll be sitting somewhere with a tear in my eye, being proud of what's been going on. And, I love living in Baton Rouge, so I'll be the biggest Tiger fan out there. Well, 1A and 1B between Skip and I,
Yeah.
So.
Well, we're grateful that you're here and grateful for your time. And again, I'm grateful that you brought me down to LSU from New Jersey. And, I was saying to you, remember when we were watching the scrimmage, I was like, I've been here 17 years now. I came down at 17 years. I'm 34 years old. Now it's 17 years I've been in Baton Rouge. So
half your life.
It's crazy. Half my life in Baton Rouge now,
Well, obviously there's a lot of special things in Baton Rouge.
Absolutely.
They kept you here.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of you, Anthony. Not just for the ball player that you were, but because of the man you are, your loyalty, your friendship, the way you are with other people, and you as a businessman, I do believe there's a correlation between what you do on a ball field and the lessons you learn there to then what you take into the rest of your life, and not just you, but I'm proud of all your teammates. I don't even like to call them former teammates, your teammates for life.
Absolutely.
And, so many of them are doing great, and I'm just so proud. When you're a coach, your job is not only to win games, but to prepare your players for life after college. And when I look around and I see the successes that all of you are, that's when in my mind, I'm validated because of what we've produced through the program.
I say that all the time. I'm like, if you look at everybody's jobs in our group chat, we got doctors, lawyers, tons of them too. Not just like, oh, there's one doctor. It's like, we got 2 or 3 doctors, we got lawyers, we got 2 or 3 lawyers, we got financial advisors, we got entrepreneurs, we have medical and pharmaceutical, insurance, everything, all the major things in the city and stuff. And it starts with leadership, and that's where, it was instilled in us at an early age. A lot of us take pride in that. And again, it was because of the little things that Coach pushed us to do. I took pride in being the community service leader, things like that. We would do stuff in the community. That's why I'm so big on entrepreneurship and the things I want to do in the community and stuff like that. It taught me a lot. And again, a kid from New Jersey is embraced. I'm able to do shows like this. There's a huge group of people back here that are supporting us. And it all stems from LSU Baseball and the things that we did on the field and off the field. So at 34 years old, 17 years later, 18, 19 years later, I'm still able to do this kind of stuff. So it's awesome. Yeah.
You're the best, Anthony.
Yeah.
And Abby, wonderful to be with you.
Yeah,
and I wish you all nothing but the best with this podcast. And let's keep it going, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you again, Coach. I appreciate you.
Okay, guys.
Sure.
We're going to stay on for a few more minutes?
Yeah. got
All right, we're going to stay on for a few more
things.
minutes, Coach.
Okay.
But
Thanks, Coach.
thank you. You're the best.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, Coach. Love you, dude. Yep. Thank you again. Appreciate the time. You're the best.
That was, I mean, I almost started crying.
I know. He's the man. I mean, he's the best there is. Like,
That was precious. And if you didn't know,
You
like,
can't-
people don't know Paul Mainieri other than being the coach of the Tigers, but like to see that side of him and like hear the stories and y'all, this is exactly why we're doing Beyond the Box. It's not just to recap the games, which we'll talk about a little bit of a recap, but it's to hear the stories like that you didn't hear in the media when he was here coaching, seeing their interaction and cracking up and kind of disagreeing on how things went down. That is what we're doing here. So that was really cool to see. Again, first time, whoa. Sorry.
what?
Somebody was sliding the door, could have hit the camera. Anyway, that's part
Oh,
of
no.
being,
Really?
in a bar, right? People are drinking and smoking
Yeah.
cigars. It's fine. The equipment's fine.
Yeah.
Before we continue, though, I do want to shout out again everybody in the chat. A lot of supporters that we know and even some that we don't.
Yes,
this
thank you,
goes
guys.
a long way. This has been a work in progress. It's been a grind, but we're finally here and we did
Yeah.
a really cool first episode with Paul Mainieri. So appreciate all the support and to everybody here as well.
We got to
There's a
somehow, we got to
crowd
make sure we
here
get all
right
the
now.
names of everybody so we
Yeah,
can put the raffle in.
Speaking of the raffle,
Yeah.
just one more time, that Dylan Cruz signed baseball will be raffled off. If you want to enter, each raffle ticket is $1. My Venmo is Abigail, ABBIGAIL, Alonzo, ALONZO 22.
Yes.
If you send me $1, you get 1. If you send me 10, you get 10. So each raffle ticket is $1. We'll pull that after the show and then contact the person who wins the Dylan Cruz signed baseball. Also, Rocky sent me $10.
Who?
Rocky.
Rocky, let's
Yeah.
go.
There we
So
go.
Rocky,
So he
hey,
gets
that's
10
good.
10 raffle tickets.
That might be the leader. We had somebody before the show
Somebody
do
said
7, right?
7,
So we
yeah.
got some people that have a lot of entries. There's probably about 20 people here, if I had to guess, probably
Yeah.
from our group, 25 maybe.
Yeah.
So we'll have some good entries in there. But again, guys, you guys can get as many as you want. And again, I was joking with everybody before that Abby's going to be pocketing the money, but
I'm not.
honestly, it goes towards. We have some great interns that are really helping us here from LSU.
Yeah.
And it's going to go back to little things like putting some money in their pockets and helping support the work that they're putting in. And obviously little things like, set things. We're able to go, give some money to things like we have a Paul Skeens card that we might be giving away at another time. So again, the money goes back to little things like that, back into the business, into Abby's media fund and things like that. So
Yeah.
we appreciate you guys. We appreciate all the donations, all the time, all the comments too, because that goes a long way towards the algorithm
Big
and all that
time,
stuff. Yeah,
big
so
time, big time.
it really
So,
helps.
Excuse me.
Yeah, all right.
I don't know.
Well, there is a lot of cigar smoke in here.
Forgot. Okay, yeah. the
There's a
cigar
lot of
smoke
cigar
is
smoke in
serious.
here.
I like the smell of cigars.
Oh,
My
me-
clothes. It's gonna be in my clothes forever.
Oh yeah, that's
I don't know why I just sang on camera. I forgot we were on air.
Wait, you sang?
I did. I just sang.
What did you sing?
No, we're not.
No,
if
do it again. Do it
you
again.
can
Do it
replay
again.
It later.
Do it again. Do it again.
You can replay it later. Before
Whatever.
we get out of here, I do want to do a little bit of a recap because we saw an incredible outing from Cade Anderson
Yeah.
today.
I didn't get to watch. Yeah.
13 punchies
Yeah.
in 5 innings.
5+ innings, so he gave up the triple, lead off the 6, but I mean, he got 15 outs and he struck out 13 of them. I mean, that's badass. Like, dude's a lefty, looked like the ball was coming. There was no velo in the game when I was watching, but looked like the ball was coming out of his hand well. Looked like he tunneled really well, a little bit more over the top. I don't know a ton about him, but that was the first time that I really got to watch him. I didn't get to lock in because we were setting a lot of things up,
Yeah.
getting ready for the game, but I'm excited to watch that and see what he does off of that. I mean,
Yeah.
the left-handed arms that this team has, I mean, is absolutely incredible. So, again, something we didn't have. You clearly heard Coach Mainieri talk about that.
Chad
We pulled
Jones.
Chad Jones out of spring practice to give us a lefty. So it's a lot different vantage point than our 13 lefties that we got on this year's team.
It's a
But
good situation to
yeah.
be in. And the pitching staff is kind of shaken out. You called it.
Yeah.
Holman moving to Friday night. Talk
Yep.
about Luke Holman. I know you've been high on him before he was moved, before the season even started.
Yeah.
He's moved to Friday night guy.
Yeah.
You've been talking about him the past week.
In our first Beyond the Box, we did do a recap after game 1, right? It was
Yeah.
a little, it was just like a kind of a test run in
Yeah.
the shop and everything. But, and again, nothing against Thatcher Hurd. I don't want to ever take anything. He pitched
Right.
really well last weekend. Dude's a baller. Going to be a first rounder probably, Thatcher. But I just didn't think he was the fit for us on Friday night, and it was more because of who Luke Coleman is. The dude was at Alabama last year. He already has Friday night experience. So, again, we talked about how important that role is on Friday night to a pitching staff. So he kind of understands that responsibility doing it a year before. He led the SEC in WHIP, which is walks plus hits divided by innings pitched, which basically tells you how many base runners he's allowing per inning.
Right.
As a Friday night starter, you got to limit those base runners. That's the biggest thing, right? You can't give up walks, especially because you can't fall behind and have a high pitch count. And obviously hits are important. You can't be giving up hits. And if you do give up hits, you can't be walking guys because that's when you're going to give up runs and it's going to fill up the scoreboard. So Luke Coleman to me is the dude. And then when I've watched him pitch 3 times this year, he's pitched 18 innings, I think. The guy's got 30 strikeouts in 18 innings and 2 walks. I know David Foles probably knows.
Yeah.
I think it's 2 walks, but maybe 1. I'm not really sure. But either way, his strikeout to walk ratio is absolutely ridiculous. K per 9's 30 punchies in 18 innings. Dude's doing the thing, which means that he's going long into games and striking guys out, which means he's being hella efficient.
His velo isn't anything crazy. I saw some stats. God, I wish I would have screenshotted it. It was on Twitter, and there was a comparison between him and Skeens, which is crazy. But when you look at the numbers, man, I'm gonna have to go deep dive on Twitter and find it. But if you look at the numbers, and I don't remember if it was innings, strikeouts, like they're eerily similar. The only thing that is different is the velo.
Oh my God.
It's
well,
wild.
let's not.
Not the only thing.
Okay.
Like number-wise, like
Numbers. There we go.
the
Numbers.
stats that I
Numbers.
read.
Let's say numbers. Yeah.
Yes.
Because Paul
numbers-wise.
Skeens is a different beast.
No, okay.
6'6", 250.
I'm
I'm just saying. Let's not take anything away from Skeens. And as much as I love Holman, it's been 3 games. So that's all. I'm just saying.
It was a cool tweet.
Yeah.
The stats were eerily similar. I'll have to go find it.
But what I told you about Luke that I love the most is he pitches at the top of the zone, which
Yep.
means he's got great 4-seam ride, right? Some of you guys might know it as vertical break, but basically it means that he's backspinning the baseball really well. If you guys watch any of the games, he's getting swings and misses,
Right under it.
literally shoulder high above hitters' heads, and then he complements it really well with a breaking ball, right? So if he's throwing it out of the same plane, one's look like it's rising, the other one at the last second is diving.
Right? Isn't that because you release it in the same slot and the batter can't tell what? Yeah.
Look at you.
me.
Yep.
I'm learning.
And Jay Johnson, during the Astro Classic, I was watching the game on the plane when I was driving to Arizona. Jay Johnson was so high on Luke Coleman, and he said that he goes up and down and back and forth. So he's able to mix speeds back and forth, throw a changeup, and go up and down with the zone. So
Right.
throw the fastball up, throw the fastball down. Excuse me. There's a lot of smoke in here right now.
We're in a cigar bar. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
struggling a little bit too.
But that's part of it. But I'm also getting over a little respiratory thing that I had too, so
been
bear
sick.
with me. But yeah, Luke Coleman stuff, 91 and 94, not gonna wow you like crazy, like Skeens where he's throwing 102 and 103, but complementing that fastball with that curveball, being able to tunnel it really well. I'm excited to see how he does when SEC comes around. But whenever you face Texas and do that against Texas, I mean, you're legit.
Also, we've been in contact with Luke Coleman and maybe doing some content with him throughout the season, as well as Chase Shores, Fidel Ulloa, which I forgot to ask Coach about the facial hair because Fidel
that's
has
right.
a crazy mustache. Like, it's
That's right.
insane. And up until, 3 years ago or, right at the end of his career, Mainieri was clean.
That would have been great to hear him why he let. Unbelievable.
Don't worry, guys. We're going to have Mainieri on again.
Well, Coach didn't really,
Inevitable.
leave too much for anybody else. Dude had a ton of stories, and he loves to talk, and he's a great talker, so we kind of just let him roll. So
I know. I had so many questions.
I know.
But I will keep.
I bet you he would have stayed with us, but I just was like, hey,
He's been
Coach.
here for an hour.
I know, that's what I was saying. So, and I told him only 30 minutes. So, I mean, I didn't want to hold him too
Yeah,
long.
he kind of looked real comfortable in that chair, though.
Honestly, I bet you he would have stayed, but he maybe wanted to stay. I don't know, but.
Okay, well, we'll get him on again, and I will ask him about his thoughts on Fidel's mustache.
Yeah.
Which Fidel has agreed to come on Up and In. So if you guys don't know, Anthony hosts a show called The Up and In Show. It's a podcast that dives pretty much up and in into the minds of athletes, coaches, entrepreneurs, people who've been through some shit and have stories to tell about it and like to share their purpose. And he does a great job giving them a platform to do that. And Fidel is going to be one of the people on that podcast.
Coming up, huh?
Yeah.
Next week? Yeah.
Next week he's.
We got some talks, like you said, with some other guys, so I'm excited about that. But
some of which will be on Beyond the Box. We're kind of working on maybe them swinging by Modesto. Reminder: we will be at Modesto on Sundays, following series to do the same thing here. But we've talked to a couple guys about swinging by over there to talk ball with us.
Yeah. While we're talking about Modesto too, I do want to interrupt you and talk about St. Rock Vodka.
Yeah.
Our sponsor. You can see it on my hat. We have some really cool hats. If you guys come by Modesto this weekend, maybe we'll bring some of those by. We'll give some of those away as well. I think that would be pretty cool. But you see the bottle back here. They are the official vodka of the Bayou Traditions Collective, which means that you guys can buy vodka and be able to donate back to our great LSU athletes. And the Bayou Traditions Collective helps pay some of these athletes now that they can monetize their name, image, and likeness. So shout out St. Rock. 7-3 Distilling is the parent company. They make a ton of great alcohol as well.
Yep.
Even though I've been dry for 30 days, taking a little time off. Actually, it's been a little longer than 30 days, but they are great. It is one of my favorite vodkas. And when I have a drink again, it'll be the only vodka that I drink. So shout out St. Rock and the great people over at 7-3 Distilling. They take care of us, and we wouldn't be able to do this kind of stuff without them.
We're not drinking any right now. We are kind of on a health kick. We're kind of
trying 2024 to start off right.
Yeah, we're on a health kick, seeing.
But it is great vodka.
Things, but it's really
great
good vodka.
Yeah, and their gin. That was honestly, like, I'm not a gin person at all, but
dude, when we went down to the distillery and tasted the
Gentilly gin.
I hate gin.
Yeah, but they have the one that sits in the bourbon barrels. So they age it a little longer, so it's not clear gin, it's brown gin. I've never even seen that before. Has a hint of bourbon, and I don't like whiskey or bourbon. And it was absolutely delicious. So yeah, it was great. And you could just drink it alone.
It was so good.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And we found out that gin is actually just vodka with juniper in it. That's basically the only difference. So pretty cool stuff.
We did learn stuff when we went to the distillery.
Yep.
We didn't just go to drink. All right, David False is in here saying talk, period, about, period, gauge, period, jump.
He wears number 23, so I already like him because that was my number at LSU. I'm a fan favorite.
There's one way to do it. You did say, you kind of called his situation too, that he would start and kind of be kept on a little bit of a leash just because of the injury situation. But any other thoughts on him and how he's been doing?
Electric stuff. I love him from the left side, throwing mid-90s. We saw him in the first weekend, maybe opening day, where he came in and he was sitting 96. So the dude is super athletic. He's got a great, clean delivery. I like his arm action. It's kind of short. Coming off Tommy John from UCLA, so I'm sure they're going to monitor his innings, but it looks like he's kind of settling into our Saturday guy. And that's what I was saying on our first show was I was thinking maybe they would even piggyback him. That's what they called it when I was playing. I don't know what they call it nowadays, but basically where he would start 4 or 5 innings, and then Thatcher Hurd would come in on Saturday. And if you got Luke Holman on Friday, those two guys pitching on Saturday, you got a full arsenal on Sunday after that, and we have a ton of good arms after that, clearly. So I really like Gage Jump. I'm excited to see his development. Hopefully he stays healthy and can take the ball every week.
When do you think they kind of take him off that leash and let him go?
I don't think they take him off the leash for a little while. The most important games are at the end of the year, right? So right now I think you keep him healthy, make sure he's pitching every single week, keep him at 75 pitches. This is just, again, my opinion. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a coach anymore. They know more. I don't know exactly how many months he's out of Tommy John, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But for me, I'd be like, hey, dude, we're going to keep you at 75 to 85 pitches. If you're cruising and they're low-stress pitches, we'll stretch you and let you go 85. But if you're struggling at all, if you're battling, we're going to pull you at 75 because we want to keep your inning and pitch count low, so that way when we're in the middle to the end of SEC and hopefully we make the postseason and go to Omaha again, he's fresh and he's one of the best pitchers because you need that 1-2 punch. You saw that last year. How important were Thatcher Hurd and Ty Floyd in our national championship run, right? So, yeah.
All right. Well, we've been going at this. Holy hell, 97 minutes. We have a crowd full of people who came to support, who have been standing around. They can't even hear well. I know. They've been standing here supporting that we want to get to. But I do have one more question for you. I
don't like the way you looked at me like that. Why did you look at me like that?
No, it's not a bad question,
okay,
but you're going to have to wait 1 second because I'm going to tell y'all to subscribe again. We have some great content coming. I forgot to let everybody know that Valley Vision just did an interactive interview with Matt Klotz, who is a former LSU swimmer, 10-time Olympic gold medalist, the first deaf contestant on Big Brother, who also came in second on Big Brother. So a lot of accomplishments. He was great. He and I went to Surge, which is an arcade kind of thing by Drew Brees on Burbank. And we did an interview, and that'll be out this week. Make sure y'all subscribe. We're going to keep doing this show. Anthony and I will be back on Friday to do our own little recap, Beyond the Box. Less, less formal. It's not. This isn't even formal. It'll just be at the shop, kind of more chill. But we'll be back again on Sunday at Modesto. Final question for you.
Yeah.
Not really a question. I guess, it is. What is a story, or what is your favorite story with him? Without him being here, what is your favorite memory or story with Coach?
Wow.
I know, that's a tough one.
That's tough.
You have a lot.
I think, honestly, the one that comes to mind first is, as a 18-year-old, I was at LSU, right, and was homesick for the first 2 or 3 months. I don't think I ever got homesick after this, ever in my life again. But I remember during Thanksgiving, I called my parents and I said, I really want to come home for Thanksgiving. And so my mom was thrilled. She hadn't seen me in, I left at the end of August, so August, September, October. 3 months she hadn't seen me, probably the longest time that she had gone without seeing me. I'm her only son, right? My dad's got 2 other kids, 2 great kids, so from a previous marriage. So he's like, screw that. No, he's staying. Like, he chose to go to LSU. He wants to play professional baseball. He's going to have to learn how to stay home. My mom, though, was the first one to be like, yes, I'll get you a flight, blah, blah, blah. So I'm all excited, right? Hang up the phone, but then he calls back and he's like, no, you're staying, dude. You chose to go to LSU. You got to stay down there. You got to train. Like, figure it out. Like, you'll find somebody to do some Thanksgiving dinner with. We love you, but you're going to stay. Man. My mom was distraught. She told me later. She was like, I cried. I was so upset, all this stuff, right? I remember I was really upset. But luckily enough, my roommates, Micah Gibbs, he was from Texas. DJ LeMay, he was from Michigan. They were staying too. So Coach Mainieri invited us over to his house, and all 3 of us went over to his house for Thanksgiving. We brought him a nice pumpkin pie for dessert. I remember we were running late for Thanksgiving dinner, and I had a Dodge pickup truck. I'm going down Highland like 70 miles an hour, probably the stupidest thing that I've ever done. Yeah. Coach probably would have been fine with me being a few minutes late.
70 on Highland? If you're from Baton Rouge, that's a no-no.
But if you think about it, there was nobody on campus because it was Thanksgiving Day. I'm just saying,
okay.
I wasn't being like stupid, you know what I'm saying? I technically that was stupid, but I remember going way too fast on Highland. Anyway, we went to Coach Mainieri's house. He hosted us. I got to know his family. To this day, 34 years old, whatever, how many years later that is, 16 years later. I think about that all the time. But the dude is like, no joke, a second dad to me. I called him this morning and said, hey, Coach, we had somebody kind of drop out from a show. Would you like to be our first guest? And he was like, I'll be there. Like little things like that. He just got inducted into the American Italian Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. I was there for that. He was there for me when I got inducted in 2022. So I don't know, just little things. He's like a second dad to me, and the man's absolutely incredible. He's always looked out for me. He's somebody that I can call whenever I need. Throughout business, I've called him and asked him questions and asked for help and advice and things like that. Helps me in my personal life, so many different things. So, there's not enough things that I can say about Paul Mainieri for sure.
It was really cool to see you guys. Y'all had a little moment.
Oh, he's the man.
It was precious.
It's the man. He's the man. I wanted to give him a hug, but I'm too stationed down here.
You're locked in with wires.
There's too many things. There's wires. I'll be nervous. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, I'm gonna do one more push. Y'all got I'm gonna give y'all 3 minutes to get a raffle ticket. And then
do you want to do it though today, or should we do it on social media tomorrow? And just let some people still enter, because I don't know if we have all the names from everybody. Do we have all the names from everybody for the raffles? Were you talking about the raffle?
Yeah, I am talking about the raffle. But it's for the people that are in the chat and the people that are here. I'm not going to pull it in 3 minutes. I'm just saying.
Got you.
If
Get it in.
Yeah, and you want a raffle ticket, $1 for one. You got 3 minutes to get them in, and then I'm shutting it down. Anything else? I feel like this was really successful. We went for a hot minute.
Yeah, how long have we been on here?
An hour and a half.
Hour and a half. It was awesome. It flew by.
We're 17 minutes down from 2 hours.
Wow.
That's crazy.
There's a lot of people in the chat too, so really, guys, thank you guys so much. If you guys enjoyed this, please share it with your friends too. It goes a long way.
Yeah, it does.
Like Abby said, please subscribe. It goes a long way. Abby's really building something special here. I'm really going to be focusing on the retail space and some other developments that we're going to be having with the business. Hopefully a little bit of the collective stuff and working with LSU and some athletes. But Abby's really just doing some incredible work in the storytelling space, giving her a lot of creative freedom, and that's really parlayed into a great opportunity for her. We think that she's going to be taking over the media stuff, and it's going to be a woman-owned business, so we're going through all the logistics of that kind of stuff and giving her ownership and majority shares of the business. So again, really, this goes a long way for her and her brand. The things that she's creating, she's trying to monetize this so she can make a living off of this and be able to pay some of these great interns that we have working behind the scenes. I know you guys can't see them all right now, but really, we have some great people around us, so thank you guys for the support. It means a lot.
It really does. It really does. Even the smallest things. Anything else you want to leave behind?
No, this was awesome. You were so nervous before, so tell me how you think it went.
I don't know, y'all. I wish I could explain how much sleep I've lost the past week, just because, like he said, we're making a shift, and there's a lot on my plate, a lot on all of our plates. But I was so worried about setting this setup, and oh my gosh, Mainieri's going to be on the show. I didn't even watch most of the game because I'm putting cameras together and trying to find internet and making sure Jay's able to produce. And I was so nervous. I had a hard time catching my breath, and I didn't need to be at all. That was great. I'm so excited.
I knew it was going to be. I knew it because of how hard you work and how much you care. That's the thing, right? People care about your passion, all that stuff. I was trying to get you to calm down and breathe because I knew that it was going to go this way. I knew we were going to have some great people show up. And you were going to kill it. I knew you were going to. Coach is great. He was going to take a lot of pressure off of us and tell a lot of stories, right? But yeah, and again, we have some great people following us and in the chat. So couldn't be more grateful, and I know that you are too. So I'm really proud of you. Continue the hard work. I'm excited to see what you build.
Well, if that's all you got, then
that's all I got.
We can roll.
Thank you guys again, all the Ranaudos, everybody that tuned in,
yes.
All the people that have supported us all over the country. We love y'all. We will be back Sunday afternoon after the LSU Baseball. We'll probably start it in the 8th inning again like we did tonight. But thank you guys. Lewis, Rocky, Ubre, Stephanie, David, Joe Mitchell, you're the man. We couldn't do all this without you and all the help that you've helped us start this with. All the other commenters, Marion, and Soupy, Katie.
You got the whole family.
I got the whole family in there. Everybody, and Aunt Paula's in there. I saw her in there. Austin and some of his friends, Bryce and Monahan, Big A. We appreciate y'all. There was so many good people in here today. I feel the love for sure. And I know Abby does too, because again, we're building some really great things here. So
my people are in there too. I'm not going to name drop y'all, but I love y'all. Y'all know that. All right, we'll get out of here. We will be back Friday.
You and I will be back Friday
night,
and then
So at the shop, we'll be at Cards and Culture.
Yep.
More of a recap.
Probably be a little quicker.
Long.
Yeah, exactly.
Not 2 hours.
Yep.
But we will have another official Beyond the Box at Modesto on Sunday. We'll go live at the top of the 8th again. I think that's our sweet spot.
Yep. I really just want to nerd out on Luke Holman on Friday after he shoves again. So
great. That's what you can look forward to.
Yes.
We appreciate y'all so much, and we will see y'all soon.